Good. Okay. This is one of our missionaries that we have supported for practically his whole life. Wilson. John is a missionary in Japan. How long have you lived in Japan now, John?
We came over in 1989. So it's been over 30 years.
Oh my gosh. Now you and your lovely bride, Leah, and you have two kids, Gracie and Kata. And now you just had a little excitement in your life here recently, a few weeks back. I think it was a wedding or something.
Yeah, it's a couple months back now, but we were very, very blessed to have our daughter get married with her high school sweetheart. And so she's now Mrs. Gracie Nelson.
Ah, okay. So now, what primarily brought you to Japan?
Well, we came over as missionaries, and I had a call to Japan from when I was 16 years old. So I was very, very fortunate and blessed to have met my wife in college, who is Japanese. And so Leah and I came back to her hometown in Tokyo right after school.
Okay. Now, being kind of the insider of knowing a little bit about your life, I've heard rumors, and I think most of them have come from buddies of yours that seem to indicate, even as back as high school days, that John will end up in Japan. How did you get involved in getting into the missionary work? Where was your decision made? How was it made?
I think my first start in that direction was doing a mission trip as a high school student with a youth group. And we went down to Mexico and worked on an orphanage. And I came back from that trip thinking, wow, okay, this is what I want to do with my life. And I have to mention that you have a wonderful person in your background moving around. I think she should turn around and say hi.
I should.
Hi, Mom. How you doing? We can see you back there.
You're doing the talk. I'm fixing Dad's pills.
Okay.
I'm a nurse.
You can go back to doing your work. So anyway, yeah, I it's fun to do an interview with my mom and dad, and I'd like to say to everybody at Jacksonville Presbyterian, this has been a strange time, and we would have loved to have come back in over the holidays and seen everybody and given everybody a hug, and yet we're here on the other side of a Zoom call, and so thank you so much for caring for my parents, being there for them, and we are really hoping that we can come over as soon as we can.
Well, we hope so too.
Amen.
Now, I understand that you did one of your big major projects was working on the tsunami that was in Japan. Kind of give us a little brief history of what you did there.
Yeah, so actually we're this year coming up on the 10th anniversary of the tsunami. It's been 10 years, it's been a full decade since that happened. And one of the very interesting things is we can now look back on it and see what was the impact of what we did. And so at the time we were in emergency response mode, And everybody in Japan suddenly had to shift gears and think, how are we going to respond to this disaster? And especially missionaries. We went from having our primary mission be evangelism and church planting to suddenly compassion and meeting the needs of people that are hurting. So that consumed about 4 years actually of our work. And so one of the thoughts that we have is this just a big distraction? Are we being distracted from the work that God would have us do by doing all of this relief work? And so it's very interesting looking at the changes that have happened. The area that was affected by the tsunami was a rural area in northern Japan. And rural Japan is very, very resistant to the gospel. They really have very little response. So before the tsunami, we had one full-time missionary, Protestant missionary in the prefecture of Iwate. And there were the churches along the coastline, you could count on one hand. And now it's 10 years after the tsunami. Every single community along that coastline has a church. And there are, I think it's over 40 missionaries full-time serving in Iwate Prefecture, which is, again, that rural resistant area that was, you could barely make a dent in it. And because of Christians going and serving and loving and sacrificially, that those communities have had a change. And so now it's one of the more evangelized places in Japan, where before it was almost forgotten. So I look at that and I can see, wow, what we did, it made a difference. And that's something in Japan that, often we don't see. A lot of our work is, plowing the field and planting, and you rarely see a harvest. So this has been an amazing time.
So what's your future? What are you planning?
Yeah.
Years yet, so.
Yeah. So right now I'm actually working on a PhD, and the PhD is in holistic child development. So what that means is how do we help children, and especially children in places that are poor, where they're hurting, and I've seen that this is really where the church needs to be. We need to be where the most vulnerable, the most needy people are. And so what I've been doing over the last 12 years is going into places all around Asia and training the churches how to meet the needs of children. And so what I want to do is learn more and do some research, and then hopefully train up people in quite a few nations in Asia to effectively reach children, and especially kids in places that aren't Christian nations. So we are working in places where, for example, Islam is the major religion, or communism outlaws the churches, or you have large other religions in place. So many times Christians in those nations, you can't go and just evangelize. You can't hand out a Bible or stand on a street corner. So doing compassion ministry is really the only way that you can build those relationships and gain people's trust.
Is Pete still in your life?
Oh yeah, he's right behind me here. So, let's see. Yeah, I don't go anywhere without Pete. So, if anybody doesn't know Pete, this is our penguin, who is the main character in our story that we use for psychological first aid for children. So very simply, when kids go through a disaster, they have a lot of complex emotions, trauma, and we train communities to be resilient and supportive, and to help these kids go through this well. And you can pray. We're working with a college in North Carolina, and we'd like to try to do a pilot project in rural North Carolina, in the schools, to help children get over the pandemic and the trauma that's happened because of that. So Pete might be coming to America soon.
Well, super. Good. Well, John, we certainly appreciate the opportunity we've had here, and to take to our congregation. Is there anything in particular you would really like us to pray for? You've mentioned this thing with Pete through this pandemic and everything. Financially, how are you doing? And what can the church do to help you?
Okay, pray. We really want to be able to travel again. I think many of you are in the same boat. But we have works in Mongolia and the Philippines, and of course the project in America, where we'd like to go and be able to assist those places and make sure that they're doing well. So pray for that. And then the biggest thing on our heart right now is pray for health and protection for our parents. So we'd like to come back and give them big hugs and show off their new son-in-law or grandson-in-law as soon as we can.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we've gone at least 5 minutes, maybe.
Well, the nice thing with about Zoom or online services is you can kind of take as long as you want, right?
Right, and this is one of our advantage. We get to watch your service on Saturday night, and then we get our service on Sunday morning.
So you can kind of judge, which one was better.
Yeah, and I'm being tracked that when I have to report to our Heavenly Father, if I have attended 52 services, I've got my log so that I can say, well, it was 2, 2, 2, 1.
So what you're saying is, if you want to take a cheat day, you can.
Yeah.
You've got some stored up, huh?
Very much there, John, and we'll be looking forward to the day that you're at the pulpit before our church, and giving us a big hug and a thank you and a welcome. And so with that, hit the record button, and then I can talk to you father to son.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we are